Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, My Sexual Life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, asexual entertainment, lifestyle, and so much more. So subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. So Thunderbolts, if you haven't yet seen the movie, I am going to do the movie review for you now. So there are going to be spoilers in this video. So if you don't want spoilers, please do not watch this video. Don't watch it because you'll be hugely disappointed that I'm going to spoil it for you. But if you love knowing what happens before you see it happen, then do watch this movie review. So, asexuality is a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction, and I am personally a sex repulsed asexual. I don't like movies with sex in them. I love finding movies with no sex in it, and that's what I love about Thunderbolts. There is no sex in it. Plus, I love superhero movies. So what happens in Thunderbolts and what is it all about? So Thunderbolts is a Marvel movie. It's meant to be an anti-hero movie, superhero movie, but in the end, it's kind of like more of a superhero movie. Anyway, I want to tell you right now that I was very impressed with this movie. I thought the trailers didn't look that good for it, if I'm absolutely honest. I thought it looks nice. It looks good as in something okay to watch, but not like, oh my God, that's really fantastic. That's a Marvel classic. I've got to watch that. I've got to get in. It was like I wanted to watch it because I love Marvel films and it was one I was excited to see, but it wasn't the factor in me that made me have that decision. I thought to myself, well, this looks like a good movie and I want to watch it because it's Marvel, but I'm not kind of sure about this because I don't like anti-hero movies in a lot of ways. Things like Deadpool, I don't really like, but Deadpool and Wolverine, I did really like. So because I like Deadpool, not really Wolverine. Kellogg, is that how you, or K-Dog Tyson, sorry. I'm trying to look at your name. I loved it. It was really good. Says K-Dog Tyson. Thank you so much. I'm glad you really enjoyed it. I have to say, I really, really love this movie too. So I may as well tell you that now because I thought it wasn't going to be this good. And I left the cinema thinking, wow, that was amazing. Much, much better than I thought it was going to be. So when I watched the trailers, I wasn't that enthusiastic about it. Hi, Jessica. Lovely to see you. Lots of love. I'm just saying hi to people in chat. Welcome everyone on this channel. So long as you're obviously like respectful of each other. And yeah, I was like blown away by how good it was. It just kept getting better and better and better and better and better. You know, when you watch a movie and it kind of like flunks partway through and it gets a bit boring and you're like, what am I watching? It kind of like grew and got better, I thought, as time went on. And I thought like the last like third of the movie really escalated to being incredible. And there's stuff in there that I wasn't expecting. So I don't read the comics, right? So I don't know all the history of Marvel in that respect. I don't know what's going to happen. And I kind of like that because for me, it's a nice surprise. But obviously, I don't know the characters as much as some people do who read the comics because I don't have that background history. So with Thunderbolts, there's a CIA operative. Basically, she's like the head of CIA, I believe. I'm trying to I did actually get Wikipedia up to remember her name because I couldn't. The CIA director. That's quite a bit of a jump there. Valentina. I'm not going to pronounce her like part of her middle name. De Fontaine, right? So she has this laboratory called OXE, but I kept thinking it was called OX because that's what I associate with Ox, right? And anyway, she's like building these, she's like doing experiments on human beings and she's trying to change them into super beings, like superhuman. But she takes vulnerable people who are very, got a lot of problems in their past history, etc., and tries to psychologically manipulate them into taking drugs that will transform them into super bots, basically. And there's a facility that she can be impeached for with the evidence in this facility for things she's doing to humans to change them and make them non-human. And so she has people, beings, things that work for her. So for example, she has Yelena working for her. Now, Yelena was in a previous movie as a Black Widow's adopted sister. So she's a Black Widow trained operative herself. And Yelena actually forms a huge part of this movie. She's like one, if not the central character, I would say, in this movie, played by Florence Pugh, who's a British actress. So that's interesting. And if I've got any of these details wrong, please correct me in chat, because like I said, I don't read all the comics and everything like that. And so I thought she was really, really good in it. Really, really, really kick-ass in it. And I really love strong female characters in movies. It makes me feel excited when I see strong female characters. It makes me feel like, yeah, this is really good for females in general, because it's not good if you have females that are still like looked down upon compared to guys. So I really, really like Yelena. I thought her skills were really, really good. And the good thing I like about the character and the person who plays the character is she's got like a dual side to her in this movie that I didn't really see in previous things to do with Marvel. So I've watched like some of the series on Disney Plus as well, and they show her as quite ruthless, not really caring, really like a mercenary killer. But in this Thunderbolts movie, you get to see a much more different side to her, the side that's really grieving still over her sister, Natasha Romanoff. So you see her in this movie like having a void in her life. You know, she's there killing people, she's given an assignment, she goes and does it, and then, you know, it's back to the same old thing again, repetitive, and there's no purpose for her in her life. It's like the void is bigger since her sister died, and she feels like very like an outsider and doesn't really fit in and doesn't belong anywhere. And so I think a lot of people can relate to her character. I think everyone at some point in their real life has been through a stressful time and a point in their life where they thought, what's the point of this? Like, why am I here? What's my purpose? Why am I even bothering? Especially if you've ever had depression or suffered with some depressive moments, some down moments, some low moments. You're kind of thinking like, is this it? And she is just bored as well. She's bored of the same type of assignments, bored of the same type of a role that she plays in her life. And she wants something more exciting, something different. And she's actually looking to change her life around in some way, I believe. She's throughout the storyline, she's looking to possibly become a good hero rather than an anti-hero that goes around assassinating people for the sake of just having an assignment and go and kill these people, not really understanding who they are. Because we enter the movie when she's killing this guy who's like got a lab coat on, I believe. He's a guy who looks like a scientist guy. I don't actually know what he is, apart from his role is like a scientist, as far as I know, in a lab. And, you know, she's there to kill him and all the people in it. But I have a feeling that maybe he wasn't bad like she thought he was, but she doesn't really have thoughts. That's a kind of point. The CIA director just gives her a direction and tells her to go and do it without her thinking about it. She's like blind, if you know what I mean. And this is very reflective of real life, because if you're a vulnerable person, and if that vulnerability is that you're easily manipulated by people, even the strongest people, you could argue they're strong because they're going out killing people. Would you say that's strong, or would you say that's weak? I personally would say that's weak, in the sense that, is that all you're going to do with your life? Do you know what I mean? What about helping people? What about giving back to the world? What about love and kindness and respect, right? But some people would see that as a strength, that she's going doing that. But actually inside her, she's not feeling strong anymore. She's feeling disheartened. She's thinking there must be more to her purpose, you know, and she really is erring on the side of, I'd rather be the other side. I'd rather be like the villain in the villain's life, enabling people who are good people to have a better life because I've saved the world in some way and become an actual superhero like the Avengers. So you can see that she's shifting at the beginning of this movie. She's shifting her thoughts. She's not happy where she is, but she clearly is very good at her job, very good at killing people without even getting emotional over it. So it's not really that she cares so much about the people she's killing, which I think is a bit sad. It's more like she's feeling sorry for herself and realizing that it isn't very fulfilling just going around killing people. So I don't know how you feel about this personally when you watch the movie, where you feel it's good to learn the psychology of a assassinator, or whether you feel like this isn't good because they're not saying that she's feeling bad about killing people. They're just saying that she's kind of bored and lost excitement and she wants something more in her life. Does she deserve something more in her life because she's gone around just killing people? Does she deserve to have a second chance? I think that's something only the audience can answer. But anyway, the whole point of the movie is her transformation from what she was to what she becomes. And I think there is a really good central theme in there, is that you can turn your life around. You can go from one direction to being transformed into another direction. You don't have to stay on the path that's been like chosen for you, because that's the whole point, is her path has been chosen for her. As a child, she was trained to kill. She's trained to be a Black Widow. She's trained to just go around not thinking about the person she kills and kill them. And in this movie, it's very good because they play back all her demons from her past. The fact that it was a young girl that was meant to be her friend, and instead she was going to kill the friend. Although you see this guy come out and kill the girl for her. So yeah, I wasn't sure if the guy was supposed to be a younger version of her father or not. I didn't quite understand that. But anyway, I found that a bit weird. But this is a demon from her past, and I felt that it was good that they captured the emotional side of Yelena in this film, whereas before in like the Marvel series, they don't capture that. It's more like she's just a killing machine. I think they might give a little hint about it, but they don't really capture the full impact of what she does on her emotional well-being, if you like, on her mental health, her destiny, the way she thinks, right? And I always like to dive into themes of the movie, like being regretful, transforming from something that you were made and created to be into something of your own making. I think this is a really important thing in life, because in life we can have different situations. People in real life can have parents or family members or situations they've grown up in. Maybe they haven't even grown up with any parents, maybe they were adopted, where they are thrown into a certain situation. They are conditioned, brainwashed, if you like, into believing this is the life that you need to live. And then as we get older and we come into our own being, we can actually detract from that, and we can become something different that we choose to be, of our own making. And I think this is a very powerful theme in the movie. Very powerful. And the whole movie made me feel very strong. When I watch superhero movies, although you could argue this is an anti-hero movie for the majority of the time, I always feel empowered. I always get my strength back. It's like being plugged in like Iron Man and getting strength through the characters because of the way they overcome adversity, the way that even though they're losers in the movie, they still manage to win the hearts of people in the end. And I think it's really important to see this group of people that come together in the movie as losers, but actually become winners, if you like. So if we go back a little bit, so Yelena is going to this facility from the CIA director to clear up all the documentation meant to be, clear up the person, kill the person that is meant to be going to this facility. It's more focused on the person, actually. I think the CIA director, if I remember right, is actually trying to get someone else to clear all the paperwork and stuff out. So this box is still lying around of paperwork, which is obviously top secret experiments they've been doing on people and things like that. And there's a Sentry program that's been taking place there. So Yelena goes to follow this person, or this being, whatever you want to, this hero that's not a hero yet. They go to follow this person to kill them. And you find basically in this facility that there's Yelena, there's a person called Ava Starr, there's John Walker. Remember John Walker from the previous Captain America movie, Captain America Brave New World? He was going to be Captain America, and he was Captain America for a very short time. before the person of color took over, which is very important in that movie. It's kind of something very historic for Marvel in general and for the actor that played the character. So he was basically demoted of Captain America, very full of himself, and did, wasn't a good person really in his heart. He's very egotistical because of his background. I think he's like been in the army and stuff before, and he comes from a army commander background. He's very up himself, right? So he is in this movie, which I wasn't actually expecting. I was a little bit, I think I saw him on the trailer, but I wasn't really expecting him to be in this movie. I kind of thought we'd seen the end of him. So that was quite interesting. And there's also another person that Ava kills off. It's not a person, it's a being. I can't remember what they call the being. Oh, what is it called? It's a special taskmaster. That's it. Sorry, I had to look that up on Wikipedia. I do apologize. So I'm trying to remember as much of it as possible without looking on there. But yeah, so Ava kills the taskmaster, and they've all basically been sent to kill each other. So Taskmaster's the one that dies, and Yelena and Ava and John Walker all remain in the facility. But in the end, they work out they've all been sent to be killed. They've all been sent to kill each other. And they've all been set up by the CIA director to think that they're going to get their dream life. Their slate is going to be wiped clean. And, of their criminal record, if people found out what they were like, assassins, basically, and killers, then they would go to jail, right? Or worse, be killed by the electric chair or whatever in America. But the whole point is they think that they're going to get a slate cleaned, a clean slate, and that's why they're going in there to do it. But as we all know in these movies, this is never true. They never have a clean slate, right? You always know when they decide to have a different life for themselves and choose themselves instead of the programming condition that they were instilled with from a young age. When they choose themselves, you know that it's usually the end for them. You know that the powers that be, the CIA director, for example, in this case, is going to want them dead, because they're not going to want loose cannons, people that could say what happened in their past, say what they did, because it would be tied back to her and she would be impeached, go to jail, die, or whatever, be killed, right? So we always know it's going to be like the end. So in this movie, it kind of comes in at the end of the characters when their lives are just beginning their new chapter, if you know what I mean. So I love the way this kind of twists around. I love when you're kind of like in the thick of like about to die, but actually you go to the other end where they actually become good in the end, if you know what I mean. It's like a role reversal, when you read those books and you come in right in the action, because when we see Yelena, first of all, she's jumping off a building, and in your mind you think, oh, she's going to commit suicide, but she doesn't. She has a parachute, and then she goes around killing other people again, and that's when you find out she's bored with her life. So it's very interesting to see the characters. So Yelena, Ava, and John Walker, they're all eventually coming together to realize that they've all been set up. And the only way they're going to get out of this facility is by working together. Then there's this person that comes called Bob. You're like, what's happening with Bob? And you realize that he's quite out of it. He doesn't remember things. He's clearly been brainwashed and they've done stuff to him. And he just says he's woken up. But you see like this, looks like this coffin with, how can I put it? When you have a mattress and it's indentated where you've laid, that basically in like a coffin. It looks like a coffin with, I think it's yellow material, like molded to his shape when he got up and out of it. So you kind of know something's been going on with him. And you find out during the time when he's talking to Yelena in there that they bond because he feels like he had a void in his previous life, because you realize throughout the time together in this facility that something's gone on in his past. And you realize that Yelena and him start to bond. And the reason they bond is because they both feel a void in their life. She feels it and he feels it. So they come together and have like a mutual connection. And this is a very important part of the movie because later on, it kind of saves the superheroes or anti-heroes, if you like, life. So what then happens is they have to get out of this facility. So they work together to get out this facility. I won't go into every single detail because that would just bore you. But anyway, they don't realize how special Bob is. They don't realize that Bob, spoiler alert, is Sentry, and he's actually a superhero, almighty, all-powerful being that you find out much later in the movie, who can actually destroy the Avengers. And he has just the most incredible, insane powers. I was going to say, I'm always making up words on this channel. Right, so they get out of the facility, and the CIA director finds out, and they find out about Bob, that the actual program they put him under and the other people, he actually survived, and he has got all the superpowers. He didn't kill him off, whereas the other people, basically, I think they either died or they killed them off anyway, because they didn't want people knowing about the experiments that went wrong. But his powers have actually manifested in his body correctly, and he was able to cope with that, whereas other people weren't. And we get to know that he's got serious mental health issues, drug addiction from his past life, and he wasn't, or he feels he's not a good guy. And so in order for the others to escape fully, Bob actually ends up running back out of the vehicle that they've secured. When they've managed to get out of the facility, they've gone in this vehicle, and he gets out the back of it, and then he goes into the fire of the police officers that have surrounded the building, and they open fire on him, and he doesn't have wounds. The bullets just come off him, and this is when you know that he's a very special being, if you like. And so the movie follows the story of how, you know, Sentry's character Bob, so Bob is his human name, Sentry's like what they've made him into being. And Yelena has a sub story going on with her dad, where her dad hasn't been in touch for a year, despite the fact her sister Natasha Romanoff's died. And so they have this kind of conflict going on in the movie, where the father, known as the Red Guardian later on, you didn't really hear him be called by the Red Guardian in this movie, but he is he's her, like, she's like adopted, like she's a Natasha Romanoff's adopted sister. So I didn't kind of understand how the Red Guardian dad fitted into it, unless the Red Guardian dad was both of their dads. But I don't remember the Red Guardian being in a previous movie. So I'm a bit unsure about that. So if you want to enlighten me in chat or the comments, please do on that. But anyway, so they have like some conflict going on, and he's making out his life so good, and she's like saying my life isn't good. She goes to see her dad, and he wants to like get into assassination. She's like, why would you want to do that? I want to leave that. It's a very hollow, you know, world where you feel like you have this void. And so anyway, she realizes that he's been lonely, she's been lonely, and throughout the movie they're constantly working on their relationship, and she's very upset about why her dad didn't contact her for the whole year when she was really grieving. So I'm going to like fast forward now to later on. So the director, realizing what has happened, and that the experiment she did have one person that had the effects happen in a good way to him, in the sense that he didn't die. Bob actually is Sentry, but there is a dark side to Sentry, who I've actually discovered is called the Sentry and Void as well. And he has this dark side to him. So I know in the movie they said like he had mental health conditions, but I wasn't sure if it's meant to be bipolar or schizophrenia, or if it's just the darkness of all the drugs he's taken. I didn't quite understand that, but he's meant to have severe mental health problems, like paranoia, I'm guessing, and stuff like that. So they had two sides to this person's, or this being's character, should I say. One is the Sentry, which is mighty, powerful, but quite egotistical, very strong, can easily kill the Avengers. And then he's got like the dark void in him that overtakes the world and makes people into shadows and puts them into pockets of really bad memories in their life, like their worst nightmares. And this is when the movie starts to get really good, because you see the characters come together. They don't want to work as a team, then they have to work as a team. Bucky, remember Bucky, the Winter Soldier, he's got his programming out of him now, and he works in like Congress, I think. He's a governor or something. I got a bit confused by that. But anyway, he's meant to be like in the government sphere for like half a year now. And so he's turned good, and he doesn't want to get involved with stuff like that. He's meant to be law abiding, and he tries to find people to go against the CIA director because he knows that something's been going on, dodgy's going on, and she has an assistant that he tries to get on his side, but that doesn't really work out very well. He tracks her, or she says to track her phone. But what happens is he comes across the others. He comes across John Walker. He comes across Yelena, her dad, who's involved by this point, and also Ava. So the father, Yelena's father, has heard the CIA director saying what they're going to do to his daughter, Yelena, and the other three when she catches up with them. So he comes looking for Yelena, and when they've all escaped the like the building, the facility that's been doing these experiments, he gets them to safety in his car, but not without having their car blown up first. So Bucky comes along thinking they're bad and tries to like shoot the bad guys and thinks they're bad as well. So then he captures them. And it's only over time that he realizes that they're not, a short period of time, that they're not actually the bad people, that there's Bob that's a loose cannon because he has got powers, and the director is manipulating his brain, saying, oh, you've got all these powers. Remember when people didn't think anything of you in your former life, when people didn't understand you? I'm the one who understands you. I'm the one who knows you best. I know what you're capable of. Listen to me. And she's trying to brainwash him again. But the thing I did actually really love about this movie is when Bob becomes Sentry, it's not good that he gets very egotistical and thinks because she called him a god, the CIA director called him a god, he thinks he is like more powerful than anything in the world, right? So he gets very egotistical, very ego driven. Nothing can stop him, right? But it is good from the point of view he turns on the CIA director herself, and he literally like doesn't care about hurting her. So because she's been trying to manipulate him all the way along, the tides turn on her. And I really did love this in the movie, because I think a lot of people, if they've been brainwashed, even in real life, people can be brainwashed by their parents, their peers, their family, their friends, their school, particularly if you've been bullied in school. It's all conditioning to make you feel small, make you feel belittled, because it's to do with control. When people try and belittle you, they can control you, but they can also pander to your ego and boost you up. So if you're not used to having validation in your life, if you're used to being put down and belittled, there's the other side of the coin where people can actually raise you up so much so you get a false sense of security, of being mighty and powerful, in order for them to control you as well. So you've got to be very, very careful who you let into your life in real life, right? I often think that movies have some parallels to real life, and you've got to like realize what the themes are here. Like the themes all about control and manipulation, about choice, freedom of choice. Do you really have freedom of choice? Don't you? And if you did, what would that look like? How does it look like to take your personal power back? So he takes his personal power back from someone who's been trying to control him. But the fact is, it gets out of control, and he ends up in his dark state where his darkness takes over him. Now, one thing, like I said, I really want you to pay attention to is the movie gets so much better, and you end up seeing Bob as Sentry with his darkness overtaking like all the planet, all the world, if you like. And one by one, people start disappearing. Now, I thought this is a bit like the blip in the Avengers. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, is he the one that actually created the blip and it's parallel to the blip? But as we know, it's meant to have been a different story, that, you know what I mean, where characters were killed off. But it's very similar looking to the blip. So I'm like, that's very interesting. And so anyway, in this particular part of the movie, I love this because I felt like the action was amazing. So Yelena ends up going and being disintegrated. What you think is disintegrated, but it's not. All these people that get like disintegrated into dust are actually going into their own subconscious minds and going into their own backstory, something that happened in their past that's their worst nightmare, usually for abuse, being in situations where they saw abuse, where they saw their father killed, for example, something like this, or where they were trained to kill, and all these different types of things. And you see Yelena go through her own past demons in order to get to Bob and be in his mind with him to help him. And then the other, John Walker, Ava, and her dad, who's a Red Guardian, and Bucky, they all eventually come throughout this like basically it's like being disintegrated in one reality and going through to Bob's mind, but also being in their own subconscious mind. He's the one controlling that, though. So it's a bit weird because it's like they're in Bob's mind in a way, but also in their own pockets of their mind. Very, very clever the way this is done. I loved the cinematography in this as well. It's incredible. So what happens is Yelena's going through different rooms, and she's like falling into different rooms and falling into different situations. And then all the other characters, like I said, Bucky and Ava and the Red Guardian, you know, they're all following Yelena and Bucky. They're all coming through. And what happens is they're sitting with Bob, and because Bob's lacked the love in his life from his past, I think no one loves him. That's why his darkness takes over, because he just wants to be loved. And I think a lot of people can relate to that in human life. We can relate to it because it's like there's some points in our life where we just wanted that love. We just wanted to be hugged and held and say, you know, you're okay. You have someone here for you. You're loved. You're cherished. You're adored. I really care about you. And I think we can all relate to this as human beings. So I love this movie for that reason. And when Bob is there and Yelena's talking to him and they're sat with him and all the other like characters are sat with him, they then realize they've got to go through Bob's worst nightmares with him in order to calm his mind down, to stop him from zapping people and disintegrating people into their own subconscious pockets of their mind, going back into their darkest fears. That's the only way they're going to get people back in the world, is to get them out of his mind and out of his world, if you know what I mean. So you then see them going through different rooms, and you see what happened to Bob. He was abused as a child, and you see all these different things. But it reminded me a bit of Spider-Man. You know, when Spider-Man, if you've ever watched the Spider-Man movies, the more modern ones particularly, it's when they, you know, they jump through different dimensions, jump through different versions of themselves, jump through different things in their mind, their worst nightmares, their worst fears. It's very similar to that. And I kind of love the disorientation of it, although that sounds a bit weird because it's like I don't like disorientation in real life. I kind of like that in the movie because I thought it made it like more interesting, you know, to see what's happened to all these characters, see why they are the way they are, the psychology behind it. And it's only really, you feel like kind of a love between Yelena. That's what I felt like, a bit of like of a love between Yelena, genuine one, with Bob, who's Sentry. You know, you find that and feel that they got this kind of connection somehow. And it's that she says she was wrong about the void, because he's like, oh, you were so right about the void, you know, and he's leaning into the void still. And she's like, no, I was wrong because I feel better already, because she's, you know, mended things with her dad. And also the other, you know, like characters like Ava and John Walker, they've become like part of her family, part of her team. And then Bucky as well, right? They end up becoming the Thunderbolts as a team of losers that came together, because when they work more and more together, they then, you know, they are very aware of their own shortcomings, which is what I really like about this group of superheroes. They're very self-aware of all their shortcomings in the end, right? And they're not saying they are the best in the world. They say, oh my God, we really suck. We're like losers. But they're still working together to become better. And I think that's a really powerful message for people at the end, if you know what I mean. So there is a twist at the end, a very end. I'm not going to reveal what that twist is because I think that would spoil it. But I think you should watch the ending. I like leaving it. I think you should watch the ending, but I have to say that Bob's darkness does take over him, and there's a lot of problems with that. All the team at one point are literally like stuck to the wall and being strangled and held down, and like Bob is trying to fight himself and punching himself, and things get very hairy, you know. And Yeah, so it's a very exciting movie, I think, but I love all the themes in it. I love to dive into the themes of identity, self-identity, self-awareness, what life looks like when you're feeling more fulfilled versus not fulfilled, how like becoming a good person, becoming a good hero is better than being a bad one, if you know what I mean. It's better than killing people for the sake of it. You know, it's very important that we strive to change our life around how we want it to be rather than how we were conditioned to be. And it's important that we come into our own. It's important that we realize that those voids are a lot of the time to do with human connection. Everyone needs connection, and it isn't a shameful thing to want connection. It isn't like something's wrong with you. It's a normal, natural part of life. And when we don't get the connection, the love and support we need, we can, well, within a lot of us, turn over more to a dark side, whether that's a dark side towards other people or a dark side internally, where we literally feel like we're not enough. We feel like, you know, there must be something wrong with us. Why doesn't people love us? Why doesn't people want to be with us? Why doesn't people care enough, you know? And that's a very sad and lonely place to be, but it happens to a lot of us. And I want you to know that you are welcome here. This is a space for you. And I love doing this channel because I do want to connect with you. I do it because I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in your life journey, to show you how you can overcome struggles in your day life. And I like to show my struggles, even though I don't like to go through struggles. Everyone does. And I think it's important to show all aspects of life. There are a lot of things on social media, people on social media that show all the polished side of their life. And I try not to show that, just the polished side. If there's any polished side of me, I like to show the real, raw, authentic truth of life, because I don't think people should feel ashamed to be who they truly are. And instead of living up to ideals, I think they should just live up to their ideal of how they want life to be for themselves. And I think they should focus on what makes them feel fulfilled, not what other people's expectations are that are drummed into you that you should feel fulfilled by, but actually your own your own real needs, innate needs and desires. And I think you should determine for yourself what you find is healthy and unhealthy in life. And love is a great healer, and love does help people come together. But as you can see in this movie, even if you don't have the most intellectual background in the world, even if you are a loser sometimes, you've never really lost, because you are coming to terms with yourself and you're actually grown into a better version of you just by trying in life, just by being here in life, and just by trying to be better. So I hope you've enjoyed this movie review. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more no sex movie reviews. I really appreciate you being here. If you're new to asexuality and want to know more, I've got this Asexual Perspectives book, which is on Amazon. There is a link in the description. And if you like superheroes, you'll probably love my Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook, which is an autobiographical book told in a superhero style about how to manage fibromyalgia to have less pain, more energy, and feel happy like a superhero rock star. And you can see my Ace Fibro Girl outfit on the back. There, can you see it? There. So yeah, I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you soon on the next video live stream. Lots of love. Thanks for being in chat. K-Dog and Jessica, really appreciate you. Lots of love. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Let's video live stream. Bye, Jessica.